The Cabal of Tsakata, Episode 9. Februarino 20th, 5:14. We left Bubesh today, but as we were leaving, we received a wonderful surprise. Obasi joined us and told us that he had changed his mind. Carol and Norris would want him to see this to the end. We set out to head to the mountain range to the northeast of the country. For the most part, today was an uneventful day, for which I am grateful. Februarino 22nd, 5:14. We stopped today around an uninhabited oasis. Dr. Reaver, Obasi, Samira, and I sat around a fire. At first we had small talk, but then Dr. Reaver revealed something to us, a powerful secret. She was half Naquerian. Samira laughed and revealed that she had suspected all along, but wondered if Dr. Reaver would say anything. Interestingly, the secret was much deeper than that, for she claimed that her mother, Enel al-Fazim, descended from the people who were once a part of the Cabal hundreds of years ago. Dr. Reaver explained her origins as such. Her father was an archaeologist working in Inonok, excavating some of the old ruins in that country, when he met a woman who was also working in the field. Her name was Enel al-Fazim. Enel and her father Alistair worked on many archaeological digs, and they fell in love. When Alistair's grant for archaeology was finished, he returned home to Ocean Dare. Enel went with him, and they married. Enel told him of her homeland, Naquer, and how it used to be called Saushiadam. She told him of her ancient origins, and how she descended from a long line of followers who worshipped a goddess named Tsakata. Enel told him of her beliefs, and that many in the Cabal fled Saushiadam to survive. I asked her if that was part of why the Cabal disappeared hundreds of years ago, and Dr. Reaver mentioned that it was part of it. Dr. Reaver told us that Enel revealed to Alistair about the last 3 known temples, all lost to time and forgotten by the people. During childbirth, Enel died, and Dr. Reaver was born. Apparently, Alistair vowed to find the temples of Tsakata, so he could return his wife's ashes back to her people. When Dr. Reaver was 15, her father came to Naquer to find the temples, but he never returned. Distraught, Dr. Reaver promised to find the temples, but also find out what happened to her father and her mother's ashes. She was overjoyed to find the first 2 temples, and finding the last one will be the end of her life mission. Obasi took his turn next and explained why it was so important for him to finish the journey. Even before starting at the university, Obasi, Carol, and Norris were best friends. Norris was the one who got Obasi into the Naquerian and ancient Saushiadamite culture and language in the first place, and they fell in love over studying. They eventually convinced Carol to join their academic interests, and eventually all 3 came to work under Dr. Reaver. Samira expressed she always loved her people and her histories, as it was quite rich. She loved learning stories about her people, the legends of supernatural beings, epics of mighty heroes, or cautionary tales of scary villains. Her favorite ones were the myths surrounding the Cabal of Tsakata. Samira knew the Cabal existed, but the temples were lost, and the only reference to Tsakata were in the villainous descriptions in Tugunite texts. When Samira met Dr. Reaver, she admitted to instantly liking her. Finally, it came to me. I admitted I knew nothing of Naquer, and it was merely a happy accident that I was sent here. However, this accident forever changed my life. Dr. Reaver admitted that had I and Samira not discovered the clue, she would have given up. I asked Dr. Reaver what she expected to find at Yetref. She wasn't sure, although the name of the temple was the Citadel of the 4 Swords, so she suspects that it could be related to the order. Samira said it was a good guess, and perhaps they would find another statue. I laughed and inquired of the group what they thought Tsakata would be doing to Tagoon This time, the others joined in my merriment. Februarino 24th, 514. We were attacked today by rider marauders. They descended upon us sometime after noon, but luckily Hamal and his security warriors bested them. I asked Hamal to show me some sword-fighting techniques, in case we got attacked again. Samira also helped me with forms, and Hamal regarded her as someone quite skilled. As one of the marauders was dying, he revealed that a large host was following us, and they would soon capture us for reviving such depravity in their homeland. He called us blasphemous, and we would all die slow deaths. I wonder if what he said was a bluff. Februarino 28th, 514. We are nearing the distant mountain range, the range where Yetrif was supposed to be. We have not been attacked yet. However, I can tell everyone is tense today. The laborers who came with us are the most scared, and each of the soldiers are so rigid and focused. They are like clenched fists. Samira made a recommendation on how to approach the mountains, and it certainly created a spark of wonder. I could tell Dr. Reaver was also intrigued, but she didn't press the matter. As per Samira's recommendations, we moved to the eastern part of the mountain range. When we were alone in our tent, I whispered a question, and I asked her if she knew where we were going. She smiled but didn't say anything. Her eyes said it all, though. I asked her if she were like Dr. Reaver, and rather than answer, she kissed me deeply. She whispered into my ear, "Trust me." And so I did. Martini 2nd, 514. We are at the base of the mountains, and we are continuing to move eastward around the base. Dr. Reaver pulled Samira aside, and they spoke for a long time. When they came back, Dr. Reaver was also agitated, and I had my suspicions, but I didn't prod Samira. She could tell I was curious, and she whispered once more, "Trust me." I love her, and I do trust her. That night, Samira hugged me so tightly, and she thanked me for my support. She promised that all would be revealed soon, and that she deeply loved me. I told her I loved her, no matter what secrets she revealed to me in the coming days. We made silent love tonight. Martini 3rd, 513. Another disastrous catastrophe happened today. We were attacked by a large number of marauders, so much so that our security warriors were overwhelmed. They came upon us as we entered the actual mountain range. Hamal and his warriors tried to hold them back as we fled, but things were bad. A second group came upon us from the back, and many of the laborers were slain. I fought alongside Obasi, Samira, and Hamal came to help us. However, Isco died under an enemy blade. Hamal grew so angry, and he told us to flee while he did his best to pay the marauder in kind. Samira led Dr. Reaver, Obasi, and I, as well as the last 4 laborers away, deeper into the mountains. The last I saw of Hamal, he had just beheaded the man who had killed his son. We were chased by some marauders, and our last 4 laborers died. I was injured on my shoulder when I threw myself trying to save one of them. Samira and Obasi managed to kill the pursuers, and I was patched up. We are concealed in a small forest in the mountains, but the marauders are searching for us. Samira knows where to go for help, and so all we can do is trust her. Martini 4th, 514. When Samira said she knew where to go for help, I was not sure what she meant by that exactly. We all found out today. We fled from the forest and stealthily moved deeper into the mountains. Many times we were almost caught. We eventually found our way to a lagoon with a waterfall coming from another part of the mountains. The marauders rode up upon us. A hail of arrows came from the cliffs above and peppered the marauders to death. At first, I was uncertain of who our saviors were, and then I saw them. black-clad warriors with headscarves and black veils. They emerged from behind the waterfall and from down the cliffs. However, Samira told us not to worry. She promised that we would be okay. It was then that my dear sweet Samira revealed herself to be a member of the Cabal, a trained warrior of the hidden order of the Four Swords. She and her brethren and sisterin escorted us behind the waterfall and down the corridor to another canyon. There, the beautiful temple of Tsakata at Yetref stood, alive and active. The front walls of the temple were painted with a glorious image of Tsakata, with her 4 swords. 2 swords were crossed over her waist, and 2 were raised above her head. The paint must have been maintained, perhaps reapplied often, multiple times a year. A massive statue of Tsakata stood 150 feet in front of the temple's entrance. She was clothed in battle armor, and a pair of hands rested on her hips. One hand reached out to us, inviting us to enter, and the other gestured behind her to the temple. Tsakata smiled. The ground was paved with stone blocks. A woman wearing the garb of the High Cleric of Tsakata came out to greet us, along with other clerics of lesser rank. A ring of black warriors escorted them as well. Dr. Reaver openly wept, and I also felt overcome with joy. The High Cleric introduced herself as Zarina Katan, and she was the highest living ranking member of the Order. She was also the Falchion of Tsakata. She invited us into the temple so we may discuss how things were going to proceed. Samira held my hand and beamed sad eyes at me. She asked me if I was upset with her, and I told her no. I trusted her and loved her, and she expressed the same degree of love for me. Samira took me to a healer who redressed my wounds. The others were taken to a waiting room while Zarina prepared for their audience. The interior of the temple was adorned with amazing art, depictions that showed Tsakata walking and interacting with the people. Despite this being a citadel of the 4 swords, the imagery sought to instill happy feelings and warm thoughts. Maybe this was to reinforce the idea of what the Order of the 4 Swords was fighting for. There were all sorts of people within the temple as well, young and old, men and women, and maybe even some people like Samira. This was a welcome and safe place. When we were alone, she kissed me and told me she wanted to tell me after we expressed love for one another. I told her I understood why she kept it secret. When I was patched up, we went to meet with Zarina, Dr. Reaver, and Obasi. Zarina explained that the temple of Tsakata at Yetref was never lost, but it was kept hidden. She also told us that many of their followers fled to the other countries to escape persecution, just like Dr. Reaver's mother. Dr. Reaver asked about her father, and Zarina told her that yes, her father had found Yetref, and that he was reunited with her mother. Zarina explained that her father went to stand before the goddess herself, and that the goddess resurrected her mother. The High Cleric pulled out a letter from a box and explained that her father knew that Dr. Reaver would one day come. The letter was from him. Dr. Reaver asked what Zarina meant when she said that he went to stand before the goddess herself, but Zarina explained she would reveal that later. Zarina said that the other 2 temples were lost, however, and when Dr. Reaver found them, it made the Order very happy. Many Tsakata agents were hidden in Naquer to find out any clues about the lost places, artifacts, and such. In fact, Director El Assad was not only a member of the Cabal, he is the rapier of Tsakata. The director has already started the process of securing all of the artifacts found to date. Rather than continue to show them to a conservative Tagunite community, they will all mysteriously disappear and be relocated to a secret location. Zarina went on to say that it was unfortunate that so many people had to die during the Marauder attacks, but it will be made known to the Naquerian people that everyone was killed. The truth of the matter is that the Cabal of Tsakata doesn't want to be found, at least for now. It was then that she offered us all opportunities, as it were. She offered us the chance to join the Cabal, to be well taken care of while embracing Tsakata. For Dr. Reaver, Zarina offered the chance to reunite with both her parents and meet Tsakata herself. There was a special ritual that could be done that would send Dr. Reaver to Tsakata's palace. Unfortunately, it was a one-way trip. For a moment, Dr. Reaver was silent, but then she agreed. After all, she had dedicated her entire life to unraveling the mysteries of Tsakata and her secrets. Then Zarina turned to Obasi, but Obasi politely declined and expressed that he just wanted to go home. Zarina understood and offered to pay him a small fortune for his discretion, and he would be snuck back to Dehandra to return to Ocean Dare. And then Zarina turned to me and asked me if I wanted to join the Cabal. I looked into Samira's eyes and saw the urgency and hope within them. I realized that I wanted to be with her, and as I was fairly agnostic in life, it wasn't like I had another allegiance. I smiled and said that I loved Samira, and that if Tsakata was important to her, that I would embrace the goddess as well. Samira hugged me tightly, and Zarina smiled as well. She told me I would need to be initiated into the Cabal, but Samira would lead my initiation. It would need to remain secret, so I would not be allowed to journal about it. I asked what would happen to me after I was in the Cabal, as I was going to be presumed dead by the Naquerian government. Zarina said there were multiple possibilities, depending on my choice. I asked if I were allowed to go to Ocean Dare with Samira, so she could meet my family. Zarina gave me her blessing, although the initiation would take several months. I expressed that I was supposed to be returning in Mayar, so I asked Obasi to please return my journal to my family, so they won't actually think I had actually died. I asked permission to give this journal to my family, and Zarina said it was fine. So tomorrow, Obasi will start on his journey to Dehandra. Family. I'm well, and I'm very much in love. The events that I wrote about in this journal were a record of my experiences that led me to a new and exciting adventure. I realize some of the descriptions within this journal are graphic. Please don't let Isabella read it until she's over 18. I love you all. And if you've read this journal, you know about Samira. I can't wait to introduce you to her. She is the love of my life. I don't know what lies ahead, what this initiation will be like, or what will happen after. But I'm not afraid. Samira will be with me. I'll see you soon. Love always. Fransisco Diaz.